99 WLS Talkstar. Get details and submit your audition now at WLSAM.com.
Good morning at 6:37. 23 until 7 o'clock. Yeah, we're going to give away some tickets to the Bourne Legacy. A couple of tickets to an advanced screening on Tuesday at the Showplace Icon Theater in Chicago. For information, go to WLSAM.com. Right, let's find out what's really going on in the world. KT McFarland knows, and maybe she'll tell us. KT McFarland, good morning.
Hi there.
The president apparently has signed a secret order authorizing U.S. support for Syrian rebels. Is that going to oust Assad?
That in itself is not going to oust Assad because it's not clear what we're supplying them. We've been supplying them with, and the Secretary of State has said this, with non-lethal aid. In other words, intelligence from satellite intelligence, signals intelligence. We've been helping them with humanitarian assistance, but it's not clear that we've been helping them with weapons. Who has been helping them with weapons? Because they've clearly done an awful lot in the last 3 weeks that they weren't able to do in the last 6 months. The reports are that a lot of the military aid is coming from Saudi Arabia and Qatar. And where is it going to? Because there's not one Syrian rebel army. We tend to think of, this is like the American Revolutionary War. These are rebels. They're good guys. They're one cohesive unit under George Washington. They are not. They are a collection of groups. It's some tribal, and they range everything from well-meaning liberal Democrats to Muslim Brotherhood to Al-Qaeda. So we don't want to be in the position of arming Al-Qaeda. On the other hand, from the American point of view, what we care about, not only about the Syrians, but from our perspective, those chemical weapons. We know Syria has one of the world's largest stockpiles of chemical weapons, and as Syria descends into chaos, we want to make sure that those chemical weapons don't fall into the hands of bad guys.
And how do we do that?
Well, I think that the important thing about the intelligence covert operations that we're having, whatever they are, should be to find out who are the rebels and where are the chemical weapons. We don't necessarily go in and seize them right now, but if it looks like they're going to fall into the hands of bad guys, I think we need to prevent that, because we've seen with the fall of Gaddafi in Libya, where he had a lot of shoulder-fired missiles, 20,000 of them, they are now showing up in Africa and the Sudan and some of those conflicts. We think that they may be in the hands of Al-Qaeda working in Yemen and in North Africa, and so we don't want the chemical weapons of Syria to go in that same direction.
I know, in case some of our listeners don't realize, KT McFarland hosts FoxNews.com's DEFCON 3, which is one of the Internet's most watched national security shows. I'm curious, on your show, whether you have done a general assessment of Mitt Romney's recent visit to England, to Israel and Poland, and whether your assessment is close to the mainstream media's, which seems to be, well, it was just one gaffe after another.
Well, we haven't done it on my show, although I have done it in my capacity as the Fox News national security analyst. I do not agree with the mainstream media. I think Romney sort of flubbed it, and at the Olympics when he said a few things taken out of context. You go to the Olympics, you take the American flag, you wave it around, you say the Olympics are great, the American Olympiads are fabulous, we want to win a lot of gold medals, thank you very much. But his trips to Poland and to Israel were the really important ones. And those, I thought, went very well. When he went to Israel, he made it a very clear point that he favors a strong Israel, that he believes Israel has the right to defend itself, and talked about Iran's nuclear weapons as the biggest threat the two of us face. And more importantly to me is the relationship that Romney and Netanyahu have. I think that for whoever the next president is, the most important relationship they're going to have is the U.S.-Israel relationship. There's got to be complete trust between the two leaders, and they have to see eye to eye. Now, they may not have completely the same self-interest, for Israel, for the United States, but we have to trust each other and know that we can count on each other when we give our word. Why? Because if Israel decides that it can't trust America, it could well go on its own to attack the nuclear weapons sites in Iran. And while Israel can start that war, it can't finish that war.
They
So we would be
clearly,
dragged in.
Netanyahu and Romney clearly demonstrated a warm, respectful, and long relationship. It looked quite different.
Yeah, I mean, even if you just looked at the pictures and the body language, Netanyahu and Obama don't trust each other. They don't like each other. They don't believe they can count on each other's word. And that is a very different relationship than Romney and Bibi Netanyahu have had. They worked together at the Bain Capital, 30 years ago. So they've known each other and have consulted with each other over the last 3 decades. It's a different relationship, and I think a very important one. And the other thing about the Romney trip to Poland that was important. I mean, I worked for Ronald Reagan. I was at the Pentagon during the Cold War and the Reagan years when we set up all those policies which ultimately won the Cold War. Poland was the linchpin. Poland was the country that Reagan looked to first as where the chink in the Berlin Wall. Where was it possible for democracy and anti-Soviet sentiment to break out, and that was Poland. And so the fact that Romney went there I think it meant that he's trying to, put on the cloak of Ronald Reagan, not just with his rhetoric, but demonstrably saying, Poland, this is an important country for America. Reagan recognized it. I recognize it.
Yeah, he seemed to get a pretty solid endorsement.
Yeah.
Yes, from Lech Walesa, who was the guy who started the whole revolution in Eastern Europe. He was the head of the Polish shipyard workers movement, which ultimately led to the collapse of the Communist Party in Poland. And you can make that argument that then that led to the rest of the collapse of the Soviet Empire. So Lech Walesa meeting with Romney and endorsing Romney, I thought was pretty important. And also because that's a country Obama has not treated very well.
Right.
And so I think that was even more important.
All right, somebody has suggested that KT McFarland would be a good vice presidential running mate.
We want you on that long list there.
Well, it's very flattering, but I think very unlikely.
Unlikely?
Right. Okay, so nobody's knocked on your door and said, we're here to vet you?
Nobody's knocked on my door yet.
Okay. Well, we appreciate your time this morning, and thanks so much.
Great pleasure.
KT McFarland, who knows it all. You can see her frequently on Fox News Channel. It's 16 to 7 at WLS.